Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. There is a question that has persisted since the beginning of mankind's ascendance to planetary dominance of the Earth. Where did we come from? Were we forged from Earth itself, a mix of existing chemicals that came together in just the right way? Did we drop not so gently from the sky as hitchhikers on some comet? Or were we placed here by the whim of some bored but somewhat benevolent deity? As we have peered back into the mists of time, we clever humans have found many clever ways to extract answers we never could have guessed at. The path of our past can be traced back in an almost unbroken thread all the way to the beginnings of life on Earth, which still leaves some questions ultimately unanswered. And looking back, we discover not only our own history, but now we are finding more and more evidence that we humans weren't the only form of humanity that has been on this journey. We can say with unflinching certainty that there were other species of humans who shared all but a brief moment of our history and have some histories of their own. Of all the creatures that have lived and passed into extinction, there are perhaps none more fascinating, none more revealing of our place upon the Earth than those of other humans, the many evolutionary cousins who looked like us, mastered tools and fire, crossed seas like us, who had traditional burials, language, art, and must have cared for their young, much like we do today. And these very nearly made it to the modern age with us, yet for some unknown reasons, they vanished from the Earth. Or did they? Looking for hidden human histories and other tales of wonder all ahead on This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kirsten.
Good science to you too, Justin. So excited to be back on another Thursday to talk about science.
Good science to you too, Blair.
Good science to you, Justin.
Back at me. Wow.
Yeah.
Right back at you. So yes, this is This Week in Science, and we are here to talk all about the science that's going on around the world. And Justin, in your disclaimer today, you tripped up over the word burial, and for a second I thought you're going on about the commonalities between this other species of human on the planet and burials. For a second, I thought you were going to say bureaucracies. They had their own DMV.
They had to wait in line all day to get a permit to club somebody. It was rough back then.
So rough. Yeah, well, we have lots of science to get to in the first half of the show. The second half of the show, we have an interview. We're going to be speaking with Valerie Weiss, Dr. Valerie Weiss, that is. She has a PhD, and she is a filmmaker. She moved from academia into the arts and has a movie that's coming out March 22nd called Losing Control. It's a story about a female scientist working in the lab and trying to figure out love and relationships and all that kind of stuff. And
it's about sex.
Pretty much. When it comes down to it. It pretty much is. But anyway, we're going to be talking to Valerie in the second half of the show. So I hope everyone stays tuned to find out what it's like to direct Losing Control, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, Justin, what science stories do you have to talk about today?
I have new humans. There's new humans to talk about. I have a story about saving humans. We should save the humans. We should make that a new thing people are into. And something that humans could be doing to save other humans, prolong their lives. I'm all
Wow.
humaned up today.
It's very humaned up. I've got a couple of stories about sexy feathers. Sexy tail feathers. You got to shake them. And if we get time, a challenge to the RNA world hypothesis. And Blair has her Animal Corner.
That's right. This week I'm talking about an extinct animal, though. I'm talking about the latest heating up in the mammoth cloning debate.
Awesome.
So very interesting.
We love that topic.
Yeah.
We do. So let's jump into the news. This is an old story. I think today, the first half of the show, we've got a bunch of old science that we're talking about, a bunch of things that were dug from the ground, fossils that scientists have been taking a look at. Big story this last week about Micro-raptor. And we've talked about Micro-raptor on the show before. It was a raptor, a small dinosaur in the raptor group, Micro-raptor being the species that it's a part of. And this bird-like dinosaur, not actually a bird, but related to birds.
Gosh
Bird-like-
darn close to it.
Yeah, very, very close. Feathered dinosaur. So not covered in scales the way that you would expect a dinosaur to be, or a thick leathery skin, but feathered. And originally, when we've talked about this bird, we were just talking about the structure, where there are these there are wing feathers, a long tail feather, and then very heavily feathered on the feet and the ankle portion of the legs. And so people had compared these dinosaurs to biplanes, and that maybe the feathers on the bottom of the legs were used for balance during gliding, and were used for some aspect of flight. And so it was thought that these were a flying dinosaur, these Micro-raptors. However, new research that's been carried out by scientists at the University of Texas at Austin, Beijing Museum of Natural History, Peking University, and University of Akron, and the American Museum of Natural History, looking at this fossilized dinosaur, they've got a new idea about what this fossil tells us about this species. So they think that based on looking at pigment molecules that were fossilized in the feathers, they've actually compared the pigment molecules that are fossilized and left over to pigment molecules in the cells of and feathers of living animals. And so based on molecular similarity, the shape of the molecules, they think that the feathers were black and iridescent. So kind of like a crow or a raven, or even a purple martin maybe is another species of bird. So iridescent, black, purpley feathers. Long tail feather, they think was not used in any kind of flight, but actually for getting mates. And so one of the lead researchers, she says that it was all about having the decorations on the back end, on the tail end, shaking those tail feathers to seduce a mate, and that feathers were not initially for flight, and that maybe it was some happenstance in the bird lineage that led to feathers being used for flight. But these dinosaurs, the Micro-raptor, probably did not fly, but rather used their feathers for getting the opposite sex interested in them.
Did not fly, I don't think?
They don't think they flew. Maybe the feathers could have been used in some aspect of gliding, or
They look like a glider. If you look at the amount of sort of wingage it gets put out, because it's as though the legs they were calling it a four-winged thing, but it sort of creates a nice platform for. It kind of looks like the flying squirrel,
like
and
a
the way
flying
they sort of
squirrel.
stretch out and create that hang glider plane thing.
Yeah. One thing that I really like, the images of this Micro-raptor, they do remind you very much of a crow or a raven. This bird's probably about the size of a crow, maybe a little bit smaller, maybe more pigeon or parrot sized. But you just think of what we know of the crow now. And it's, crows, they have their nice beak and, wings and feet. But imagine a crow with a face with a beak-shaped mouth with fangs and wings with clawed hands and feet with big talons. And this crazy monkey-looking tail from the long tail feathers. So, really, this Micro-raptor, it was like the evil crow. I just love thinking about it that way. But anyway, they don't think they flew very much. Maybe jumped from tree to tree or got up into trees or down out of trees, but not necessarily flight, as you think of it in birds today.
Scott in chat room asking interesting questions. Do chickens have large talons? They kind of have like dinosaur looking feet. What's interesting though is they do have, when they're developing, there's a stage in which they actually have the buds to create teeth in the baby chick stage. So that DNA to put teeth in birds and chickens exists. It's there. I think it even got turned on.
So we could have chickens with fangs.
We could create turn all chickens into little vicious meat-eating raptors. That would be awesome.
And there are scientists who are looking at the what we know of the DNA that has been kind of put to sleep in the aves, the bird group, and they've shown that they can actually induce teeth in chickens. And there are other things that they can induce, and by giving the right signals, the right molecular signals at the right time, bring back traits that have been lost. And so there are scientists that have proposed using these molecular genetic techniques to actually take something like a chicken, but grow a dinosaur.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just kind of interesting scientific twist there.
And also, if you take a chicken's like sound and you pitch shift it lower and slow it down, it sounds like what you would expect to hear coming from a dinosaur.
Yeah, Blair was giving a look of disdain at the idea of using it.
You want it again?
Here, I could do that. Yeah, there's the look. She wasn't happy.
That's what I think of a chicken with talons and teeth.
Yuck. Yeah. All right, Justin, what you got?
Nothing much. Just perhaps one of the greatest stories of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, the fourth wonder of nearly modern age humans has arrived in the form of the red deer people. These they're being called the red deer people because they hunted the now extinct red deer, cooked them, and must have been very good at hunting them now that because the red deer are extinct. But they found fossilized remains of 3 individuals that were discovered in 2 separate caves in southwest China, and are most likely the most recent members of the growing list of separate species of near modern humans that we've discovered pretty recently and all. What's more, these people that they've discovered, these new people, completely new, most likely, species of human would have coexisted with modern man in China. So they were in an area, they would have actually been there just about the time that China's earliest farming cultures were getting started. Radiocarbon dating puts the both samples, between 11,500 years ago and about 14,000 years ago. They were found by Chinese, the recent cave samples that they're talking about, I guess they're all somewhat recent. The remains were found by Chinese archaeologists at Maludong, which translates into Red Deer Cave, near the city of Mengzi in Yunnan province back in 1989. They remained boxed up and unstudied until researchers decided to start poking around at them in 2008. And they had scientists from 6 Chinese and 5 Australian institutions do the discovering. A Chinese geologist had actually found a 4th partial skeleton back in 1979, And it also lingered around not having anything done to it. It was found in Longlin, which is in neighboring, Guangxi Zhuang autonomous region. It stayed encased in a block of rock, actually, until 2009. They could kind of tell there's a fossil in there, but it's mostly rock surrounding this thing. Until 2009, when the team removed it and reconstructed the fossils. So the new fossils might be of a previously unknown species that one that survived until the very end of the ice stage, around 11,000 years ago, says Associate Professor Darren Curnow of the University of New South Wales. Alternatively, they might represent a very early and previously unknown migration of modern humans out of Africa, a population who may not have contributed genetically to any living beings. That said, the early clues are that this is very, very likely and almost already undisputably a separate branch of human evolution. The teeth and skulls from both the Maoyudong and Longlin are very similar to each other. So it looks like these two different area samples are matching up quite nicely. It shows an unusual mix of archaic and modern anatomical features, as well as some previously not seen before features from any representations of modern or this cousin of mankind. The skulls themselves are anatomically unique and do not resemble modern humans. Not only do they not represent modern humans or resemble modern humans, they don't represent any of the modern human ancestry back in Africa going back over 150,000 years. So we don't have an example that looks close to this yet. That's really fascinating. According to, so the human origin research has largely focused in the past on Europe and Asia. It was first sort of tracking the migration out of Africa, the exodus from Africa into the Middle East, and the idea that spread up through Europe and out through Asia and down, of course, through India to populate the islands of Southeast Asia. Not a whole lot of study, though, has actually taken place in Asia itself, mostly because of a lack of fossils, or as this is sort of showing, though, it's not just a lack of the fossil evidence. It has been either not understanding what they had or an understudying of what they had. Because these fossils have been in collections, right, for many decades now. So this is now really kind of a new game changer. We already found that Neanderthal and modern man had interbred, which sort of changes just the easy sort of out of Africa, and then sort of modern man continuing to evolve some differences between each other based on where they landed. So it's a pretty interesting thing here. This is Professor Xi, who's one of the researchers. Because of the geographical diversity caused by the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, Southwest China is well known as a biodiversity hotspot and for its great cultural diversity, and has been for a long time. So we have Neanderthal mixing with modern man on one sort of branch of the exodus from Africa. We have Denisovians, who we now know. When they looked at Denisovian DNA, it was closer related to Neanderthal than it was to modern man. But even more interesting, they found that there's groups of living humans, Melanesians, who live on islands in Southeast Asia, who have as much as 5% of their DNA is derived from Denisovian ancestry. And now we have the red deer people. And who knows, right? We don't have any DNA from here yet to examine. But who knows where that's going to lead us. And of course, also we have that filling up the list. The fourth missing ancestor is the Hobbit people, the Homo floresiensis of Indonesia. So the story of human evolution is an amazing story, but it's just so fascinating to me that there are other branches of humanity that almost made it, right? Almost like
11,000 years ago. It's so close. You could almost touch it.
Yeah. And it could also be that our ancestors may have been just a lot less monogamous, right? like a lot more sexually active, if you might, in the presence in the vicinity of these cousins, and simply outbred them out of existence. So because it really, if you run the numbers, it doesn't take if a lot of us are breeding with them and they don't breed as often, we sort of incorporate their DNA into a very small and significant at some point sort of percentage. I think Neanderthal and most Western man is like somewhere in the 2%, 2.5%. Even Denisovians in this other group, it's about a 5%. So
yeah, it's just fascinating to me that there is, and we're not even talking about additionally all the archaic subgroups that were also endemic to Africa. So there were just many small groups, populations that had their own traits that were isolated for periods of time and then would mix and interbreed. And so there was a bunch going on just within Africa itself. But to finally see that there are it wasn't just Neanderthals and humans, but that there is this really rich history around Asia, East Asia, Africa, Eurasia, all of these areas that we didn't think that there was, it was an empty spot.
Right.
You know, how could it be empty? And now we're finally finding that it wasn't. We just needed to look harder. We needed to look in the museum at the block of rock that had boxes stacked on it and chip away at it and find the fossils.
It was actually used in the summer. It was the rock they put by the door to keep it from closing again, so they could keep the airflow going. Now, and there's like all these interesting things that you can pull from that too, because I know we've never really agreed that you shouldn't see this much diversity in 150,000 years from or 200,000 years, depending on when we left Africa, that we see in sort of the racial diversity of the one group that left. I know you've never, but they found the genetic markers for the red. It could be Neanderthal could be responsible for the red locks of the Norwegians, the freckles of the Irish, the paler skin of a lot of Northern Europe. I mean, those
You're just describing me right here. Red hair, freckles. My Neanderthal blood is strong.
And it would be interesting to find too, if this new group has traits or features that emerged in the region of Western China. It's just it's really exciting, and I hope they can get some DNA. And this is the thing too. These are recent discoveries.
Look at the teeth. They're going to dig in the teeth because that's where the DNA usually ends up preserved, if it is preserved in the fossils. So we'll see. We'll hear it.
They got it from a finger in Denisovans.
And this is even more recent than the Denisovans, right? 14 to 11,000 years ago.
Yeah,
really
more recent
fossils.
And a lot more samples, like a ton more samples.
Yeah. But you were going to say something.
I might have been.
Okay.
I don't remember what.
No.
Just that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, like exactly what you were saying before. They thought this was an empty space for so long. And they haven't found really fossils before that indicated that there was this group existing there. So now there's going to, of course, be a desire to go and look and search and try to do some discovery that didn't exist before. I mean, people weren't really thoroughly looking for it in a place where it had never been found because nobody thought it would be there. Now we know it's there. Now we can do more caves. Go back to those caves, actually, where these were discovered. Search the surrounding areas. We found them in multiple locations, so the areas between them, other caves, and that whole region are going to be great hotspots to search for fossils.
Yeah, and additionally, this is just so exciting because for a period of time, like I said, it was just humans and Neanderthals, and we were alone. And I remember when we started reporting on the Homo floresiensis find, and it was a question of, is this a case of macrocephaly? Is it a case of, is this a new species? Is it a subspecies? And that was just this really interesting question. And now it's not just floresiensis, it's Denisovians, it's the red deer cave people. I mean, we're seeing, it's just, I'm just looking forward to the future and more digs and more dusting off of boxes in the basements of museums and academic institutions to be able to see if there are even more subgroups that are found.
Yeah.
It'll be fascinating. If you just tuned in, you're listening to This Week in Science, and we're digging up things from the past. I think it's about time for Blairs Animal Corner.
Blairs Animal Corner. Not a new intern.
All right, so this week I wanted to talk a little bit about the woolly mammoth cloning debacle because there was some new developments in that this week. On Tuesday, Russian scientists from a university in Russia teamed up with the South Korean Soam Biotech Research Foundation to try to help clone a woolly mammoth. So I guess a while ago they had said that they think they can find a full enough genome to get a mammoth cloned by 2017. And so they decided to try to reach that goal. So there were two different kind of scandals within that this week. The first is the man in charge of the Soam Biotech Research Foundation's project for the mammoth. His name is Woo Suk Hwang. And in 2004, he got all this acclaim for extracting stem cells from the world's first cloned human embryos. And in 2005, he published that he had generated stem cells genetically matched to human patients. Of course, shortly thereafter, they found out that it was all fake. And he actually admitted to that in 2006. And he was indicted on fraud, embezzlement, and bioethics infractions. And the one good thing that he had done, which is why I guess they brought him into this, is that in 2005, he created Snuppy, the world's first cloned dog. And they did verify that for sure.
He did it. Okay.
Yes. And he's since then, he's cloned pigs, wolves, coyotes, all sorts of animals. So in theory, I guess this would be the guy that you'd want to do it.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, he's shadowed by all this scandal. So it's very... It's very touchy.
And the scandal of the stuff that he published, the original stem cell stuff that he published, the embryonic stem cell stuff, there was some of it that he did actually do, but other was the question about the sources of the tissue, the embryos that they used, and there were ethical concerns where I think even the bigger part than whether he had actually done it. Like there was data that suggested he had done it, just not in the way that he published.
Right. So I guess he tweaked the results a little bit, but then also I think it said that he had used parts of research assistants in projects.
Right. And the reason that
hey, research assistant, give me your eggs.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. You work for me, give me your egg now. I mean, it can be a little bit of so, talk about that's not even sexual harassment. That's like you're going to donate. Wow.
Yeah. Give me your eggs.
DNA to me.
Awkward.
Yeah. So anyway, controversial guy.
Yeah, definitely. But so then I was reading, there was another article about what it would take really to clone a woolly mammoth with what we have right now. So I guess a mammoth chromosome is over 100 million base pairs long. And the average fragment that we have of a woolly mammoth genome is about 200 base pairs long. So, and each chromosome, mammoths have dozens of them. And we need two different versions of each chromosome to make a healthy live woolly mammoth. So that means we have to make an artificial genome, which we've done with bacteria, but the bacteria that we've done it with is about a third the size of a mammoth genome. So it's quite an undertaking. And we would need an embryonic donor. That would be an elephant probably. But because elephants...
A chicken.
Right, a chicken. It's always chickens, right? Always.
Yeah, always.
So
it's chickens all the way down.
With elephants, I guess because of their ancestry and some of their ancestors having been in the ocean and stuff like that, their reproductive tract and the arrangement of their internal organs is a little jumbled and circuitous. So it'd be very difficult for them to implant a mammoth embryo in an elephant. It would be really, really tough for them. So,
wait, how do male elephants do it? Like, isn't that? I mean, I would follow that and see if there's a solution there.
Yeah, that's probably the least of all the problems. But I guess it's when you're trying to get something to implant artificially. It's very difficult.
Yeah, artificial. So the artificial insemination process isn't the easiest.
Right.
Yeah.
And so even on top of that, if we made a genome that was artificial and we got two sets of each, a paired set of chromosomes for the woolly mammoth, and we made a woolly mammoth that was healthy, we would need to make a bunch of them that were different in order to have a sustaining population, other than to just have the one, have it die, and be like, okay, we did that. Great. We proved we could do it. The other option that they have at their fingertips, I guess, is to engineer mammoth characteristics into elephant DNA, to take the elephant genome and just insert things that you would see in what we think a woolly mammoth looks like, or how they act.
Like the woolly part.
Right, the woolly, the long chest.
Long
things
tusk.
of that nature.
Yes.
And so you would make what they were calling a mammothant in the article, which, again, would not actually be cloning a woolly mammoth.
No.
It would be engineering a woolly mammoth, which is different.
But it seems like that would be more likely.
Yeah.
And an easier thing to achieve than the cloning.
Right. So
many hurdles to
if
cloning.
that's exactly what you're going to do, if you're going to make a mammothant, or even if you're going to clone a woolly mammoth, my question is, why? I understand because we can, and because a big part of science is seeing what you can and can't do. But with animals, this is something I get very hot and bothered about, because with animals, there's so many animals that this earth can't sustain right now that should be here, and animals that are going extinct that shouldn't be going extinct. That we have this animal that's extinct for a reason. They lived in the Ice Age. So they're not supposed to be here now. So why are we trying to...
That would be such too. Space. You brought me back, and the Earth's about to get even hotter than this, because this is already really too hot for me. I'm built for Ice Age, not for global warming.
Yeah, I think in the breaking it down to scientific curiosity and trying to see what science tools would allow us. There is the question of, okay, we have the genetic instructions. If we put cloning to the side, I mean, cloning, it would be interesting to see what a woolly mammoth looked like. How do they grow? How do they develop? Be able to actually follow that path during a real living animal's life, and be able to answer a lot of questions about the biology of a living animal, as opposed to trying to forensically for hundreds of thousands of years figure out what happened, how they lived, what you infer a lot from little fossilized seeds and plants and things that are found with the mammoth fossils at the time. So there's a lot of just inference and not actually seeing it. And I'm very often seeing is believing. Observation is a big part of science. I
think it's just to put them in Golden Gate Park. I mean, I think that's the ultimate.
Yeah,
really, I do. And I'm not against it at all. Really. Although I'm surprised we don't have a more complete genome. Haven't we gotten, maybe I watched a Northern Exposure episode or something and I'm totally wrong about this, but haven't we found them frozen, pretty much intact?
Yes, but there has been degradation of the tissue over time, and you though you think of it as almost intact, there's desiccation that occurs. It's not like you took an elephant and just dropped him in a swimming pool and froze the swimming pool and there you go, elephant popsicle. I mean, that's that's not what you're dealing with. You're dealing with hundreds of thousands of years of of degradation of the tissue and the genetic material that's contained in that. And so, yeah, we do not have anywhere near a complete genome for the mammoth. So there would take a lot. On the genetic engineering side of things, I think it's along the same lines as trying to bring traits out that have disappeared, like we were talking about earlier with the chickens, trying to see if you can make teeth grow in a chicken. It would be the genetic engineering of an elephant with mammoth genes, and to see how those genes would be expressed in the elephant, within the elephant genome. How would that actually come out? And it would be a really interesting thing, because we are still trying to figure out what different genes do in different situations.
In that case, I'd be actually even more interested to see a genetic engineering project with Neanderthal.
Yeah, right.
And then Wu Suk Wang would be exactly the lead guy on that one, because there's already going to be some controversy there, right? We'd have to do it on Science Island that had none of the laws of the outside world involved. Could call it Dr. Justin's Science Island. But yeah, wouldn't that be rad to take Neanderthal DNA or Denisovian, or if we can get a sample, use some genetic engineering of the Red Cave people and really start playing with
a mishmash.
I just think if you're going to pick any extinct animal that we could potentially clone, I'm not sure the mammoth is what I would choose.
Right.
I would choose Neanderthal because I would put people.
Well, we know
what Justin would choose, right?
Right. Yeah, I just think we can actually find something that this environment could sustain that might actually be useful to us in some way.
Right.
That, something that we accidentally got rid of that maybe served a purpose in a environment or in a habitat that we could bring back, and it would actually help things. Other than putting a giant furry thing back on the planet right now.
Right. It's the shock factor.
Yeah.
It's the cartoony aspect of it. There's a lot
just like why pandas get way more endangered species money than the tuatara. It's because they're charismatic, and
pandas are not charismatic.
I agree with you, but most people do not.
I'm eating bamboo.
I'm glad you explained that.
I have a really low sex drive.
Yeah, I won't even make my own pandas.
You people keep trying to keep us alive. I'm a panda. Look at my belly. Seriously.
Something scared. Sneezing, baby.
I think I just had a baby. All right. It is time for us to take a break. Thanks, everyone, for watching us and listening to us so far. It's been the first half of This Week in Science. When we come back, we'll be talking with Valerie Weiss from PhD Productions about her film Losing Control. Oh! I feel like I'm losing control every episode. I'd like to thank Audible.com for sponsoring This Week in Science. This episode of This Week in Science. Audible.com is the leading provider of audiobooks online with over 75,000 different titles in their library, and they have a variety of genres that you can choose from. Twis has found all sorts of science-based books in their library that we've enjoyed mightily, I might say. And you can start a free trial today with Audible if you sign up. You get an audiobook download for free. All you have to do is sign up at let's see if I can speak today, audiblepodcast.com/twist. That's right, audiblepodcast.com/twist. Sign up, get a free download, see what you think. Should be a lot of fun. And I hope you're reading along with the Twis book club this month. I have on my list that we're reading A Planet of Viruses, but that was that last month. This month, we're reading Dirt. Are you reading Dirt? We're reading Dirt this month. It's a great book about the importance of dirt and topsoil and what agriculture is doing to it and, how it is a part of our culture, the science of dirt, all sorts of exciting aspects of dirt, things that you didn't know you wanted to know, but you did. So I hope that you're reading along, right? And you can go to our website, twis.org, and comment about it. Why don't you tell us what you think about dirt by going to our website or to Twis Book Club's Google Plus page. We have a Google Plus page on for the Twis Book Club and for Twis, and you can comment on the books that you read there. At our website, twis.org, we have CDs and T-shirts available. So the 2010 Science Music Compilation CD, get yourself a copy today. It's limited supply. And when they're gone, they are gone. That's right. There's no going back in time to make more. Only made in 2010. And, we're running through them quickly. So get yourself a 2010 Science Music Compilation CD, lots of great science music on it, and a World Robot Domination t-shirt. I mean, why not? World Robot Domination. It's fun. Additionally, Twis is supported by listeners like you. Your donations pay for our hosting, our bandwidth, fun things that we like to do, contractors that we need to hire to get work done and stuff like that. And we appreciate any amount, $2 to $2 million, whatever you're able to give. We definitely appreciate it. You make this show possible, and we accept donations through PayPal. We have buttons for donation on every episode page on our website, twis.org. So go to our website, twis.org, listen to the most recent episode, and click on one of those donation buttons. We thank you for your support. We really couldn't do it without you.
All right, Kiki, I'm going to get our guest on the line here.
Okay, sounds great.
I saw that.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Sorry that we're late. Running a little late this
No
evening.
problem. Am I online yet? Wait, I have you. Hello?
Hello. You are live, but we're in our break right now. So our streaming audience is able to see and hear you, but I'm going to edit this out when it goes to the podcast.
Okay.
Can you hear us okay, Valerie? Oh. Screen just went black.
Yeah, let me shut off. I was watching you, so let me shut off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, turn that
That's
off.
so confusing.
Yeah, if there's anything else open in the background, try and shut those down.
There's actually a speech jamming gun that's designed to do just that. It feeds back your own conversation at you while you're trying to talk, and it prevents people from communicating.
What?
And I do have to say, from experience, it's very disconcerting to have your own voice coming back at you a split second later. Makes it very hard to have a conversation.
Do we have that happening right now? No. I don't hear me.
No.
Hello?
No.
You're
Hi, we
good.
hear you.
No, I don't see you. Am I supposed to? There you go. There you go. You're coming in and out. I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, it seems your bandwidth might not be that great. Are you using the mic
And
on the computer?
Wait, I have another. Wait, hold on.
I think it might be the a separate mic that's picking it up, because it seemed like when she moved closer, she got louder.
Yeah, is it a mic on the laptop or something?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she's gone.
Ah, no!
Duh.
When we start back up, I'm gonna have to quickly fix something that I said earlier that I think I got Neanderthal ass backwards.
Uh-oh.
Looks like she might have restarted her computer.
Okay.
Why is my child awake?
Uh-oh.
My husband is
Give him a beer and send him back to the bedroom.
Justin has a PAPS.
Wait, are you talking about Marshall or Kai?
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Is that better? I just
Yeah.
changed,
Oh, awesome.
yeah?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah,
better.
it's better.
Way improved.
Okay.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay. I guess I'll pot up the music and then do the little dance thing, and then we'll just go right back in the show.
Great. Anything
Yeah.
I need to... Okay.
Anything
No,
else?
just sit tight. We'll get this ship back on course here in a minute, and then we come back. I'm gonna do a quick correction on the story we did earlier, and then we'll be right into the interview.
Cool.
Okay.
I like your show.
Yay!
Oh, thank you. And Brian,
Yes.
on the Losing Control movie website, there is a trailer for the movie, and I want to play the trailer. So if you could,
Bring that up.
yeah, just get that ready. That'll be good.
See if I can find that real quick.
Losingcontrol.com, is that where it's at?
LosingControlMovie.com.
Losingcontrolmovie.com.
Cool. I got it.
Awesome.
All right. I'm going to bring up the music here in just a sec.
Kiki, have you seen the movie? Just remind me.
I
Have you
haven't seen the whole thing. I have I've flipped through it a bit. I have a you sent me a copy.
Okay.
Yes.
Answers lie somewhere within this scatter plot. Our first assumptions were correct. Disprove the rest. It's hard. The methods of hypothesis and patience are the only things I need.
And we're back with more This Week in Science.
That's right. I hope everyone is ready for our interview. We are all ready to speak with Dr. Valerie Weiss. But Justin, you had a correction for something
quick
in the
correction.
first half.
This is the statistical anomaly. I said that our ancestors must have been very promiscuous for us to have mated out of existence the Neanderthals and perhaps the Denisovians. When you do the math, though, I think it would have actually had to go the other way. They must have been tremendously promiscuous with us. I think the numbers actually work out better that way, which makes me even more interested in engineering a Neanderthal, a Neanderthal woman, to see just how hot she was, because apparently, right? Apparently, if you do the numbers, I think it's 50 of them to like 1,000 of us, right? It's some
Right.
kind of crazy ratio there that I'm now very interested to see what Neanderthal women look like.
It's either that or maybe I can get you to take a population dynamics class and, do the math. And
I might need to math could solve a lot of my problems. It absolutely could.
yeah, math can do that. But we are ready for our interview. I'm ready to speak with Dr. Valerie Weiss, who left academia. She was a scientist. She got a PhD, but she had to make films. She had to tell stories, and that's what she's done. She's made a movie called Losing Control, which has a female scientist as the main character, and I can say that I relate slightly to this character. Movie's Losing Control. It's going to be in theaters on March 23rd around the country. And I want to know about this movie. Valerie, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much, Kiki, Dr. Kiki. It's awesome to be here. It's so fun to be able to talk to another scientist about a movie about science, because I think it's pretty unusual. We don't get to see movies about us very often. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, and if there is a movie that has a scientist in it, the stereotype is being treated a little bit better in films recently, I think. But more often than not, it's the evil scientist who's, going to be doing, it's like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, or, the scientist always gets a bad rap for destroying the world.
Right. Or if they don't destroy the world, then they're, emotionally impenetrable or cold, or that's their issue. And, that wasn't my experience when I was, doing science. All the women in my class were dating and, were as concerned about love as they were about their Drosophila experiments. And I just thought that they made great characters. To me, it's like Bridget Jones in the lab, because, scientists are real people. And I think they're great characters because they're so earnest and so sincere, and they wear their hearts on their sleeves. So I think they're actually just perfect people to put on screen, and perfect characters to watch.
Do you have any thoughts on, you think that scientists make great characters for a movie. You both of us come from science, so we've been there, we've lived through it. But why do you think that has been missed by this? It's just such a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I think, most people who are writers or in Hollywood really don't have a science background, and, a lot of them are intimidated by it. So they don't really have any accurate experience with what it's like to be science. And, I think they think that it's so much harder than everything else. And in order to do it, you have to be so in your head that there's no personality there. And I think that's just so crazy and inaccurate. So I just think they don't really have experience with it. And, this movie to me it's sort of like The Office set in the lab. Like, it's like real, authentic, quirky characters. And, everyone can relate to the show The Office because everyone's worked in an office at some point. But very few people have ever been in a lab. So I think that's kind of at the heart of it.
Tell us a little bit about the film's plot.
Sure. It's about a female scientist, as you said. Her name's Samantha Bazarek, and she's getting a PhD at Harvard. And in the movie, she has this experiment. She's discovered this protein called Y-kill, which is called Y-kill because it kills sperm carrying the Y chromosome, so you can only make girls. And the reason she's studying it is because she's trying to find a cure for X-linked or prevention for X-linked genetic diseases. And so anyway, the first time she does an experiment with Y-kill, it works, and then she's never able to repeat it again. And so that the idea of trying to find a control experiment to validate it has, in her science work, has seeped into her personal life, and she's starting to feel unsure of everything in her personal life. So when her boyfriend of 4 years proposes to her, 5 years proposes to her, she's not sure if it's yes or if it's no, and because she feels so out of sorts professionally. So she tells him that she's not sure, she needs a control, and he's like, awesome, what's a control? You can have a control, whatever that means. And she's like, great, I think I need to see other people. And that's so that's how
getting let down scientifically. Ouch.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of encouragement from her best friend, Leslie, who tells her, like, she has to increase her sample size if she's going to do this experiment right. And so that's, it's just, she gets herself into all sorts of crazy situations on the way to proving love.
And if nothing else, this movie now gives women a new way to break up with men. Scientifically.
Exactly.
I just have to.
And if nothing else, it gives men a whole new slew of pickup lines to use on women scientists. Do you have a control group? Have you even you should increase your sample size, because I'm not sure you've made the right decision in your current choice of mate.
Check out this
Brilliant. I can't believe I didn't come up with this.
Brian, if possible, can you roll the trailer? I'd love to give the audience a peek at the film.
That's fast enough. laugh, Sam.
I'm doing an experiment.
We're gonna break your neck.
Don't worry, it's science. It always works.
I'm so sorry, Sam, obviously. You can't graduate. Not at this point. You have to have reliable control.
5 years is a long time. If you two really loved each other, you would be married already, right?
Do we love each other?
Maybe this will make you feel a little better. Keep moving your finger away.
No, I'm not. I need a control or something.
You need a good, no consequences. How are you ever gonna know if Ben is Mr. Right unless you've been with a lot of Mr. Wrongs?
I'm doing an experiment.
Kind of experiment?
Ben asked me to marry him. I'm having a series of one-night stands to see if I should.
I couldn't help but notice someone as breathtakingly beautiful as you.
You really think so?
What do you research?
I'm expressing this protein that,
What do you mean, like curing cancer and shit?
Nice.
Yeah, kind of, I guess, like that. This is pretty efficient, doing my dating in the lab. I'm gonna be with you in just a second, okay? I study a protein that kills sperm.
Why you want to kill sperm?
There's a whole column here dedicated to sexual prowess. It's empty. It's right next to ability to share. Ability to share? What the fuck is that?
What, you're Mormons?
No, every time. We're polyamorous.
Amorous. Always second
Say no to Ben.
Nothing leading up to being married was the way that I planned. How do I know that being married will be?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's from what I've seen of the movie so far, it's fun. It's a really fun movie.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So how much of this comes from your own personal experience?
It's definitely semi-autobiographical, but as my husband says, if it were 100% true, we wouldn't be married now. So, a lot of the dating stuff's embellished. But, it's all based on real people I met. Almost every character in this movie, I met some version of that. And, the science is actually all real science. It was really important to me not to make up any science that, wasn't based in real believable fact that could happen. And, there's one subplot, the best friend, actually, she has no luck with guys. They all take advantage of her. So she reads an article by Dr. Leslie Zebrowitz, who's the real professor at Brandeis. And in this study, she's looked at women with baby face characteristics, and she's shown that the emotional center of the male brain is triggered by women who have more baby face characteristics, more rounded eyes and cheeks. And so that's true research. And we talk about it in the film. And then Leslie, this character who coincidentally has the same name as the scientist, decides she's going to have surgery to change her face to look like a baby so that she's going to have more luck with men. So of course she asks her scientist friend Samantha to validate the research for her. So so there's real science in that, and then the whole why kill aspect of the movie I made up. But then after I wrote the film, it turns out that there is a real technology like that that's being used in dairy cows at Eric's Pharmaceuticals. So there's a lot of science without any of it being dumbed down, but it's still, general audiences get it and they love the science. So that's really exciting.
That would explain the staying power of Betty Boop.
The baby face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, she still shows up on things. Like nobody's ever seen a Betty Boop movie anymore. Nobody ever, but she'll still show up on like a what do you call it? Like a car mats or some weird, bizarre, key rings, all sorts of weird things.
I think our next movie is going to be a Betty Boop movie now that you point that out.
The science of incorporate science and Betty Boop. That's a challenge. For the responses that you've had from audiences so far, you mentioned that general audiences are pretty receptive. What kinds of things are people saying in terms of the science, or are they just really are they responding to the science in the film, or are they responding more just to the story and the romance?
Everything. We've shown it to general audiences at 30 film festivals, and we've also screened for scientists at the National Academy of Sciences and Caltech and Harvard. And, the response is pretty equal. People laugh start to finish, and I wouldn't say it's more with scientists or not. It's pretty equal in those populations. And, I think the one thing scientists say that other people don't say is, oh, my God, you really got it. Like, that is what my life is like. That's what it's like to be in lab. And all these, like, there's so many little tiny nuances in the movie that are really in there for scientists. And, you know, maybe other people get them, maybe they don't. But I think scientists have a really deep experience watching it, and are appreciative that, you know, we didn't make fake characters.
In terms of the sets and where you filmed, for the lab sets, were you borrowing from any particular researcher, or were they?
Yes. We borrowed everything in this movie from everywhere because it was we didn't have a lot of money. So yeah, we got so lucky because the film, you know, we shot 5 days out of our shoot was in a lab, and we found a laboratory. We shot, actually, the movie takes place in Boston, and we shot partially in Boston, partially in Los Angeles. And we found a lab in LA that was amazing because they had just closed a floor of the lab. And so it was totally empty. And they said we could shoot for free for a week. A company called Zencor, they're amazing. And so that was great, but then it was empty. So we had to fill it, and we had no budget to fill it. So what we did is a sales rep from VWR took us under her wing, and she said, make me an equipment list and I'll get you whatever you need. And she did. I had this list of like millions of dollars of things like incubators and centrifuges and everything you'd start a lab with, because it was really important to me that it would be a real lab. And so much of the comedy is physical comedy with the equipment in the lab. And all these companies like Eppendorf and Corning and, you know, Fisher, everybody just sent us equipment and glassware, and they paid to ship it and paid to ship it back. And we had so much support from the scientific community.
That's really neat. It's just amazing to hear that these companies would be so willing to be a part of, you know, of a film like that. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. And they've all seen it and come to, you know, different premieres. And it's awesome. It was great for me. I hadn't worked with scientists in a few years since moving out here. So it's just like being home again.
Yeah. So for you personally, what triggered your switch from lab to film?
Well, you know, I think I've been doing them in parallel, science and art, for a very long time. I actually was interested in theater before I got interested in science. And ever since 10th grade, a biology class I had, I fell in love with the subject because of a great teacher, Mr. Shambier, that I had. And I think what they have in common is this way to ask why. You know, in science, it's, you know, why is the world the way it is? Why do things work? And I was interested at the molecular level. And, you know, with art, it's like, why are relationships happening the way they're happening? And so for a long time, they coexisted really well for me. I would, you know, majored in molecular biology and minored in theater and directed plays on the side. And then when I went to Harvard to do a PhD, I continued to do theater. And then I started a film program because I wanted to learn how to make movies. And you know, I got to the point where, you know, I realized if I was going to be any good at one or the other, I had to choose. And I made a film, you know, while I was writing my dissertation. And 2 weeks after I wrapped production, I had to defend my thesis. And that's kind of when I was able to put them head to head and realized that my heart was in filmmaking. And I never did another experiment again.
Do you think your next film will be? I'm assuming you're going to do another movie after this experience. Do you think your next film will be scientifically based? Is that kind of your goal, to do films that have science in them in some way?
You know, I think it'll happen. I don't think it's a goal per se. I think for me, I really just want to make really personal films. And, you know, in this film, I drew from my personal life. And my next film is called Overstuffed. And it's about 3 estranged siblings who move home with their hoarder father. And it's all about getting rid of stuff to become a family again. And there's actually a lot of science in it because 2 of the characters are scientists. And, you know, science will play a big part in that. And then I have another project that I'm attached to direct called Positively Negative that's about genetic testing and Huntington's disease. And, you know, I'm drawn to that as much for the science as just the family story and how the science impacts a family. So, you know, I think there'll always be some scientific element just because I think that's what can make a film really original and set it apart from other things. But, you know, I'm just really interested in things that touch me.
That's just fantastic. What's the molecule on your shirt?
So this is oxytocin, and I'm glad you asked for a couple reasons actually, because I noticed on your on the logo of the show that we're on, it says actually I had to shut it off so I didn't see myself, but something like news from people you trust, and this says trust me because oxytocin makes you trust people. So
right.
A funny coincidence. But this shirt is by a company called Made with Molecules by a woman named Raven Hanna, who used to be, she's a PhD, I think, in neuroscience, and she left to become a jeweler, and she made this shirt and it makes incredible jewelry, and she was a sponsor for our movie. She gave us tons of t-shirts and jewelry, and she was great, and she was an extra in a scene, and I was so happy that that I found her stuff because it was perfect for our movie.
Oh, that's just fantastic. Have you found that there have been a lot of just you mentioned the partnerships with the equipment and chemical companies and with Raven and Made with Molecules. Have you found just all sorts of collaborations and relationships that you didn't expect to come out of this project?
Yes and no. I mean, I didn't think the scientific companies would be as generous as they were, especially the ones who sent equipment, because I didn't have relationships with them before. You know, I know scientists are pretty open-minded and pretty awesome people. I mean, when I was in a lab, if someone was moving, everybody helped, you know, for the price of pizza, you know, and everyone was, I don't know, just always, as my husband says, come with, you know, if there's something going on, they get involved, and it's really fun. So from that perspective, I think I expected that scientists would jump in terms of a lab and, you know, being extras in the movie and scientific consultants. But I don't think I expected like the big companies where it's, you think of it as being more impersonal would jump in. I should also thank Beckman Coulter, who makes the huge centrifuges. They, I met an executive from that company, and I said we needed a second lab because, you know, we only had one lab location and we needed another one. And he said, oh, well, we have 45 acres that, you know, is basically empty because we're moving. You want to come shoot? And he, you know, it was basically like a studio for us. For a full weekend we went, and I mean, they treated us like gold. It was amazing, and for free. So yeah, I think I am surprised, but also not, because I think scientists have hearts of gold. I really think they're special people.
And they throw the coolest parties. I remember going to one that was like an all scientists throwing party here in town that the theme of the party is they'd set up like a 20-yard long slip and slide in the backyard and got an entire garbage can full of veterinarian lube. Right? So you would dip yourself in.
I threw that party.
Was that yours? Did you throw that party? I don't even remember.
That was my birthday party.
That was okay. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah,
and
it was the most amazing slip and slide ever.
We used to have these beer hours at Harvard on Fridays at 4. You know, everyone comes and drink beers, and our lab was so cool. It was Jim Hogel's lab. It was just a crystallography lab, and we would have themes. So whatever the latest news thing was, you know, we'd have themes. And Jim was so great because it, like, I guess Jennifer Lopez was really popular back then, and so he was J-Ho, and we took pictures of him and photoshopped him with her butt and her hair, and you know, everybody was just so chill about, you know, participating. It was cool.
That's
not
great.
Not the same side though, I think.
Still really good. We are at the end of our show, so we're gonna have to go. But Valerie, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been just great talking to you. Tell us where people can find out more about your movie.
Sure. Our website is losingcontrolmovie.com, and we open in theaters, as you said, on next Friday, the 23rd. We open in New York City, and then we go to Boston on April 6th and LA April 13th, and we're in Tacoma and Sacramento and Tempe and a whole bunch of cities. And you can see this all on our website if you click on in theaters, and listen to us. We're going to be on NPR Science Friday next Friday too, so check us out there. And it's been such a pleasure being on here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
It's just, yeah, it's been great talking with you. You heard it here, everyone. Losing Control. It's a science movie. It should be fun.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go to Sacramento to go see it in a theater. It's not in you have to get it to open in San Francisco.
Okay, well, we'll expand. If you guys go and the numbers are good, we'll be everywhere. So tell all your friends. Use that Science Network. Tell everybody.
All right, we will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Great to meet you.
Great meeting you too. Okay, everybody. We are at the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, it'll be all science news all the time. And I'm just going to tease it out there. The 29th. The 29th, we have a guest host.
What?
Yes,
Who?
we're all
What?
here. We're all here, but we have a guest host.
Who?
Scott Sigler is going to be back.
All right.
Yeah,
Woo.
Scott Sigler, the science fiction horror author that we love so much. He's going to be back on the show.
What did you call him?
Sci-fi horror author.
Oh, he's not. That's just. He's like in a relationship. He's in a committed relationship. I don't know what you're saying.
Anyway, he's going to be on the show. He's going to be bringing the science, and we'll be talking with him on the 29th.
Horror. Oh, horror. Gotcha.
Horror. Anyway, I want to thank everybody who contributed to Science with a Twist this week. You know who you are. That it's just such a wonderful place to go and check out the science news. If you're not doing it, Science with a Twist over on Facebook. Every day, people in the group post science stories. And so, we might not be there talking about it all the time, but somebody's posting and commenting, and there's a lot of action over there. So check it out if you have some time.
It's the official, unofficial forum of the show.
Right, exactly.
The think tank. The seed of Science Island is forming there.
Exactly. Let's end this thing, Justin.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. Twis is also available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in the iTunes directory, and we should pop up there. Or if you have an Android device, you can look for Twis for Droid and the Android marketplace. That's Twis, the number 4 droid, or simply Twis on the iPhone.
And for more information on anything that you've heard here today, show notes are going to be available on our website. Thanks to the lovely Blair. Twis.org is the website. We also want to hear from you, so email us at Kirsten@thisweekinscience.com or at Justin at thisweekinscience.com.
Be sure to put Twis, TWIS, somewhere in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also contact us on Twitter at Dr. Kiki or at JacksonFly. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, please let us know.
And we're going to be back here next week, same time, same place. Hopefully I'll be a little bit earlier because I was late trying to put the child to sleep, but we're working out the bugs here with that. Same time, same place. We hope that you will join us again for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from today's show, remember,
it's all in your head.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just yet understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And this This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address. From stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say. And if you've learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 Science.